Today's Japanese slang term is namanushi, which refers to a live streamer. This is a shortening of namahoso, or like a live broadcast, but nowadays used very much for a live stream, and nushi, which literally means Lord. There's more to it than that, but let's put a pin in that for now and we'll circle back to it later. So namanushi then cuts out the middle part and is a live streamer, as in this person here, saying that the one thing that they've done online that's interesting is marry a namanushi. Now this term arose out of the Nico Nico Doga live streaming community, which began in late 2007, so given that, it's not surprising that the first hits I can find online are around 2008. And initially though, while a namanushi was a Nico Nico streamer specifically, as more streaming networks have gone international, you can find people referring to, for instance, Twitch namanushi. And there's even uses of Nico namanushi to specifically refer to a Nico Nico live streamer, which you wouldn't have to use if namanushi was only for Nico Nico people, even if that still is the primary use these days. And that's basically it, but let's loop back now and talk about that nushi bit, because the use of nushi here is actually in and of itself a long-standing bit of Japanese net slang netplay. Now to give all the Zoomers and Gen Alpha people and whatever a bit of background, nowadays on the internet you basically engage with fake content created by computer-generated simulations like you're doing right now, but in the old days we actually used to interact with people on the internet. I know, very strange, but it's true. And one place that we would do this is a forum, and on forums, the various discussions were known as threads. And this was borrowed, as is, into the Japanese internet as sureddo. But that's too long. Why long when short good? And so this got shortened to sure. So very, very quickly then, a surenushi developed as a term on the early Japanese internet to refer to the person, to the lord of a thread, the person who posted. We would call them an OP in equivalent early English internet slang. Now both the Pixiv Dictionary and Nico Nicopedia say that this happened around 2000, and indeed the earliest hit I can find on Google is in 2000, so that makes sense to me. And just in case that this is a false hit because, this could have been posted in 2000, but then that little surenushi comment next to the avatar could have been added later, messing up the data, here's a very absolute use from 2003. Now, from what I can tell, surenushi kind of just stood on its own for a while, but in the same spaces, a different sort of play was happening. And that was playing with the word for an uploader. Not the person who uploads something, but a website which allowed you to upload photos, which again, in the earlier days of the internet, if you're not familiar, were really, really important because you couldn't just, pop a photo into every website. You needed a specific uploader that would host the image because data was more expensive then. So these officially, of course, were called an u pろだ, using the ah sound at the beginning, but for whatever reason, probably just because it's fun, early Japanese netizens started calling this an u pろだ. And this was in use by at least 2003, again, to refer to the website you upload things to, not to a person who uploads. Under the basic logic of if netplay is fun, more netplay is more fun, they also started writing it like this, with the pu changed to a p, which is still read as pu. You don't say u pろだ, say u pろだ, but you write it like this. The earliest hit I can find for this is actually 2002, which you'll notice is a year earlier than u pろだ, so I don't think it's correct. I imagine u pろだcame first, but minimally this indicates to me that both started existing together very quickly. And they continued to be used, like I can find, without any problem, hits for both on the first years of Twitter's data. But from what I can tell, for whatever reason, this form of play and the surenushi form of play that I mentioned were separate for around 5 years, but then someone decided to take the u and the p part for upu and then add nushi to it to refer to the person who uploads something, the person who posts an image, posts a video, etc. And I say this took a while because the earliest data that I can find is in 2007, and that's also when the Google Trends start so interest, and indeed Nico Nicopedia itself says it happened around 2006. So it looks like adding nushi to upu took a while to happen. But once it did, it became a very, very common term. It's easy to find uses of it even now. And of course, this set the stage for nushi being something that is not just for threads, but for other things on the internet, which allowed words like namanushi to appear more recently. And I should stress that yes, this is upunushi, not upinushi, even though there are websites noting that people get this confused quite often, because it does come, again, from that upuroda origin. And in addition to all this, upunushi itself has created more and more terms. For instance, this here is upuotsu, which combines the meaning of upu for upload with otsu, which is a Japanese net slang for otsukaresama deshita. So upuotsu is thank you for uploading. You uploaded that and I appreciate your hard work. As far as I'm aware, the otsu and upuotsu predates any of the slang I've talked about. There's no way I'm going to find out where it came from because again, it's also just like a thing that you can use. But minimally, I can find people 4 years ago saying that people were using it over a half century ago, so I'm pretty confident it's pre-2000. Upuotsu itself, though, also appeared, as far as I can tell, around 2007, so pretty quickly after upunushi hit the scene. And by 2008, a third variant appeared because now you have upotsu, which takes the upu and the otsu and blends them together to reduce one syllable. It's actually easier to see how this works in romanization, but there you go. And then to top all this off, a respectful term for any kind of nushi, be they uploaders, live streamers, or thread posters, developed, and that is nushi-sama. And I cannot find when this word began because it's actually just like a word to refer to honorable lords. But in a use like this, where you talk about the nushi-sama who uploaded something being a genius, well, it's very clear that this would not have existed without lords of the threads. So there you go, that's the journey, and I look forward to your upuotsu or upotsu in the comments.